Hello everyone, welcome back to Coding with Mock. And in this video, we'll be having a quick look at the Windows command line, why it's different, and how we are intended to be using this command line. Now, it's important, or the command line is going to be important to us because Git, the application that we will be looking at in this video series, is a command line based application. Now, some of you might be saying, well, but there's graphical user interfaces for it, for Git. Why can't I be using those instead of having to use the command line? Well, I want you to understand the concepts behind Git and not just use a graphical user interface. And those will be easier to understand if you use Git on the command line. Also, there's a lot that will be hidden from you if you use a GUI interface for Git. So for now, I want you to stick to the command line, use Git on the command line. It's going to be a lot easier once you get through that initial hump of getting used to working on the command line. Okay, so the command line, first of all, we need to open up the command line. But before we open up the command line, if you want to follow along, I want you to create a temp folder on your C drive. So go to your C drive and create a temp folder here. So just temp. If it's already there, call it TMP or something else, but have somewhere safe to work in. Okay, now I have my TMP folder, and in my TMP folder, let's create a new text document. We'll call it test, and in that test, we'll just add a message, hello world. Simple. Save and close. Now we're set up and ready to get some work done. Okay, now to open up the command line, most people will probably know how to open the command line on Windows, but just to be complete, I'm going to show you. You go up to your start menu button, you click it, you enter into the search, you just type CMD, and it should come up, if you're using Windows, the command prompt app. That's the one that we're looking for. On some versions, I'm not sure, but on some versions it might be called command line application. Something similar. It usually starts with command. Okay, we just click this, and this should give you a little window just like mine, right? It's probably not going to say exactly the same text as you see here, because this is my username on my computer. So that's going to be different, but it should be similar to this. I'm going to open up a second command line, just because I need one. I'm going to need one in a minute, right? Now, to follow along, and I'll explain the command in a few seconds. We're going to be typing cd c:\temp to start out with. Okay, now you'll see that the text here changed a little bit. First had c:\user/ and then my user ID, and now it's saying c:\temp or temp. What this does, or what cd does, is cd stands for change directory, and what it does is it changes your current working directory. Now, what does that mean? What does current working directory mean? I'll show that to you right now. So, to open up my text file, I could just double click my text file here, but let's say we want to do it from our command line. I take my command line with the c:\temp, and I'm going to type in the command notepad test.txt. Quite simple. If I hit enter, it opens up my test file with hello world in it. Nice. Okay. Working as intended. Now let's enter the same command in this command prompt. And now it's still opening my notepad, but I'm not opening my file. It's saying I can't find the file. Cannot find the file. Do you want to create it? I don't want to create it. So let's click cancel. But what's the difference here? The difference is your current working directory. My working directory here is c:\users/login, and my working directory in this window is c:\temp, right? So I'm working on my C drive within the temp folder. Here I'm working on my C drive in the folder users/ and then my login, right? Now, because my file is located here in the temp folder, in this command line, or in this current working directory, it's not able to find this test file. Now I can cheat a little bit and I can open my test file from here, but then I have to use what we call in Java the fully qualified name of our application, namely notepad c:\temp\test.txt. And now it opens up my file just fine, right? So that's what it does. That's what the current working directory means. You don't have, if you have a current working directory, and you always will have one, means that if you type in a file, it's going to be looking in that working directory. It's not going to look in another working directory. So if I type my first command here, searched for my test file in this directory, and that test file doesn't exist there. This command was looking for the test file in c:\temp, or C drive and then temp folder, right? So that's the difference, or that's the meaning of our current working directory. This is also important for commands. Now, we also have something called a system path, but that's for a different video. I'm not going to explain that here, how you should configure your path variable and what it does to your commands. That's going to be for another video. That's not going to be for today. But it's important that you understand the notion of the current working directory. Okay, now, how to change working directories. And I already showed you the command to change your working directory, namely cd. And with cd, you can change your working directory in essence. Now there's a lot of shortcuts that we can use, and I'll be showing you them in a moment. But before going into a little bit deeper into our change directory, let's have a look at another command, namely the directory command, and that's where that name comes from. If I type in dir and then enter, hit the enter key, it's going to show me everything that's located in the directory. So dir shows you what's in the directory, and in my case, it's going to show me that there is a dot and a dot dot and a test.txt file. Ignore these two for the moment. In a minute, you'll hopefully understand them. But here you can see I have a test.txt file in my current directory. If I create a new folder here, let's call it subfolder, and I type in the dir command again, you'll see I have a file, and you know that it's a file because there's a number in front of it. That means my file is 11 bytes long, and if you count out hello world and the line end, that should comes down to 11, I think. Yeah, should be. Anyway, so that's the size of my file. This is my file. And now here you can also see I just created this subfolder, and that's a directory, right? Now, how do I access files that are in my subfolder? And let's create let's move my test file to the subfolder. So I just moved it inside the test folder. There again, I only have my subfolder. And now I want to open my text file. I have to navigate into my subfolder before I can open it. So change directory. And now I could do C:\\temp /subfolder. That's one way of doing it, right? And here I can open it up. Notepad, test.txt, opens up my file just fine. So that's one way. Oh, I hit enter, don't save. That's one way of doing it. So change directory and then give it the whole or the complete name. Now you might have already noticed when I open up the text file using Notepad, I don't have to give it the whole name. And the same thing will go for our change directory. Right? Let's go back. cd:\temp. If I want to go into my subfolder and my subfolder is within my current working directory, I can just type this cd subfolder and it'll do the same thing. So working with commands on Windows within the command prompt, it's really important to understand this notion of your current working directory. Okay? So when you're working in a directory, you don't have to always give the complete name of your application or file that you're looking for. Okay. Now, let's have a quick look at these other two things, the dot and the dot dot. Now, these aren't real files, or in this case, real directories. These are what we call relative directories, and you'll find them in every directory. Well, the dir command is going to show them in every directory, but they're not really there. Now, you might ask yourself, well, what do they mean? Why are they useful? Now, first of all, our dot or the single dot refers to our current directory. So if I wanted to open my text file, I could also say, I want to open the text file in my current directory. So dot / to separate my folder name from my test, from my file name, test.txt, enter, opens up my file just fine. Okay, so that's what the single dot means. Single dot means in this directory. Right, now let's move our text file back to the original position, back to our temp. So in essence, if I just check if everything went right, yep, so my test file is gone and it's in my temp directory, not in the subfolder anymore. That's where our double dot comes in handy, because where my dot refers to my current directory, the dot dot refers to the parent directory. So the parent directory for my subfolder is my temp folder. So if I want to open up my test file from the subfolder, I could do this, C:\temp /subfolder. Sorry, test.txt. That's one way of doing it. Now, the other way of doing it is saying, well, the file that I want to open is in my parent directory. So the parent directory /test.txt. I don't want to do cd. I want to do notepad. There we go. And now we open up our text file. Right? So we have the current working directory, which denotes where we are at the moment and which files we can access. Then we have our dot that also points to our working directory. It's not that useful. There are a few moments where our dot will be useful, and those are mostly within Java applications. Well, not just Java applications, and applications in general. But the more useful one is this double dot notation, which points to our parent directory. So if I'm in my in my subfolder here, and I want to go to the temp folder, I can also do cd ... saying I want to go to the parent directory of my current directory. And as you can see, it changed it to my temp folder. Nice. Okay, so that's basically everything you should need for the, or should know about the command line when you're going to start using Git. Okay, I hope everything made sense. If there's any questions, you can ask them in the comments, place them in the comments, or ask me via email. Okay, good luck and see you in the next video.